She stood at the altar in her mother's wedding dress, ready to say, "I do." Then her groom whispered words that shattered her heart in front of 200 guests. But before anyone could react, the church doors exploded open and 300 engines roared outside. If you believe dignity should never be stolen, like this video and share in the comments. Sarah Bennett stood in St. Michael's Church bridal suite, staring at her reflection. The vintage lace dress had belonged to her mother, preserved 30 years, altered to fit Sarah's frame. She looked beautiful. She should have felt beautiful. Instead, she felt hollow. "You okay?" Her best friend Amanda adjusted Sarah's veil, concern evident. "You've been quiet all morning." Sarah forced a smile. "Just nervous. Wedding jitters." But it wasn't normal. Over 6 months of wedding planning, Sarah had watched Michael, her fiancé of 2 years, transform into someone she barely recognized. The kind man who'd courted her became critical, dismissive, cruel. He mocked her teaching job, called her salary cute money. He criticized her weight, her hair, her clothes. When she tried discussing it, he'd gaslight her. "I'm just honest. Don't be so sensitive." His family was worse. Michael's mother, Patricia, made it clear Sarah wasn't good enough. "Michael could have married anyone," Patricia said at rehearsal dinner, loud enough for everyone. "But he chose you. I hope you're grateful." Sarah should have called it off, but invitations were sent, church booked, 200 guests arriving. And beneath doubts was desperate hope that once married, Michael would become himself again. 5 minutes, the coordinator called. Sarah's hands trembled, picking up her bouquet. Simple white roses, the only detail Patricia hadn't controlled. Amanda squeezed her shoulder. "It's not too late. If you want to walk away." "I'm fine. Let's do this." The church was beautiful, sunlight through stained glass, pews filled with guests. Sarah's father had died when she was 10, killed in a motorcycle accident. Her uncle Jake offered to walk her down the aisle, but Patricia vetoed it. "That biker trash? Absolutely not. Sarah will walk alone." So Sarah stood at the back, alone, watching the processional begin. The music swelled. 200 faces turned. Sarah took a breath and began the longest walk of her life. Michael stood at the altar in his expensive suit, expression unreadable. As Sarah approached, she searched his face for warmth, for love. She found nothing. The ceremony began. Reverend Martinez spoke about love and commitment. Sarah barely heard. She focused on Michael's hand gripping hers, too tight, almost painful. His jaw clenched. He wasn't looking at her. Something was wrong. "Michael and Sarah have prepared their own vows," Martinez said, smiling. "Michael, would you like to begin?" Michael cleared his throat. He finally looked at Sarah, and what she saw made her blood cold. Not love, contempt. "Sarah, when I met you 2 years ago, I thought you were sweet, simple, manageable." Sarah's breath caught. That wasn't their vows. "I thought you'd be grateful to marry into my family, that you'd understand what an opportunity this was for someone like you, a small-town teacher with no family, no money, no prospects." Gasps rippled through the congregation. Sarah tried pulling her hand away. Michael's grip tightened. "But you've been difficult, questioning my decisions, acting like your opinions matter." He smiled, cold and cruel. "So here's my real vow. I'll marry you because the wedding's paid for, but you'll learn your place, you'll learn to be grateful, and you'll never embarrass me again." The church erupted. Sarah's friends stood, shouting. Michael's family sat frozen, some smiling. They'd known. This was planned. Public humiliation designed to break her. Sarah stood paralyzed, tears streaming. She wanted to run, to scream, to disappear, but her legs wouldn't move. Michael leaned closer, whispering only for her. "Smile, Sarah. Everyone's watching. Don't make this worse." That's when Sarah heard it. Distant at first, like thunder, then louder, closer. The unmistakable roar of motorcycle engines. Dozens. Hundreds. The church doors burst open. Uncle Jake stood in the entrance, backlit by sunlight, his leather vest bearing the Iron Wolves Motorcycle Club patch. Behind him, filling the parking lot, 300 motorcycles gleaming in afternoon sun. 300 riders dismounted in synchronization. And Uncle Jake walked down the aisle toward his niece. The church fell silent except for idling engines outside. Jake Morrison, 58, silver beard, tattooed arms, eyes carrying weight of a hard but honest life, walked down the aisle with authority of a man who'd seen everything and feared nothing. He stopped beside Sarah, a wall between her and Michael. Up close, Sarah saw his eyes, her father's eyes, pale blue, filled with controlled fury. "Sarah, you okay, sweetheart?" She couldn't speak, could only shake her head as tears streamed. Jake turned to Michael, his expression transforming. "You got something you want to say to my niece, boy?" Michael's confidence wavered. He glanced at his groomsmen, wealthy fraternity brothers who'd never faced real threat. They looked away. "This is a private ceremony. You need to leave." "Private?" Jake's laugh was without humor. "You just humiliated this woman in front of 200 people. That ain't private. That's public abuse." Patricia stood, voice shrill. "How dare you? Security, police! Already here!" Officer Chen stepped forward from the congregation. "And I'd like to hear what Mr. Morrison has to say, as a witness to what just happened." Jake never took his eyes off Michael. "Here's what's happening. Sarah's walking out right now, with dignity, with her head high, and you're gonna stand there and watch her go." "She signed a contract," Patricia shrieked. "The wedding is paid for. She owes us." "She owes you nothing." Maria Gonzalez, Jake's riding partner and family law attorney, stepped forward from bikers now filling the church back. "I've reviewed the contract. It's not binding, and even if it were, emotional abuse voids any agreement. Sarah is free to leave." Michael found courage again. "You think you scare me? You're just trailer trash on motorcycles. My father will have you arrested." Jake moved faster than a man his size should. He didn't touch Michael, didn't have to. He simply stepped forward, and Michael stumbled backward, tripping. "I'm a veteran, served 2 tours in Afghanistan. I've buried brothers. I've seen real men face real danger. You know what I learned?" He leaned closer. "Men who humiliate women in public are cowards. Always." He turned to Sarah, voice softening. "Sweetheart, your daddy was my little brother. When he died, I promised I'd look after you. I know you pushed me away after the accident. I know motorcycles remind you of losing him, but I never stopped watching, never stopped protecting from a distance." Sarah's voice cracked. "Uncle Jake, I knew about this wedding." "Knew you were marrying this boy. I stayed away because you asked, because his family said I wasn't welcome. But I've been watching. And when Martinez called me this morning and told me what Michael planned, told me he'd overheard Michael laughing about his wedding surprise, I made a call." He gestured to the bikers outside. "These are iron wolves from 6 states. They dropped everything, left work, family, rode through the night, because that's what we do. We protect our own. And you, Sarah Bennett, our family." Sarah looked at the congregation. Some of Michael's family edged toward exits, others sat frozen. Her friends stood with tears streaming. "I don't understand. How did you know?" "Because men like him always show their colors eventually. And I've been keeping tabs. I know he's been cruel for months. I know his mother's been horrible. I knew this was coming." His expression hardened. "But when Martinez called at 6 a.m. and told me what Michael was planning, I activated every chapter. Nobody humiliates my brother's daughter. Nobody." Michael's father stood, silver-haired man in expensive suit. "This is ridiculous. Sarah, be reasonable. You're throwing away your future." "Throwing away?" Maria stepped forward, lawyer voice cutting through. "Your son just committed emotional abuse in front of 200 witnesses. We have video of him deliberately humiliating her. That's grounds for a restraining order." She turned to Sarah. "Honey, you don't owe these people anything. Not explanations, not apologies, nothing. You walk out free." Sarah looked at her mother's dress, at the flowers, at the church where she'd imagined her happily ever after. Then she looked at Michael, really looked, and saw what she'd been denying. There was no good man underneath. This was who he was. "Reverend Martinez, I'm sorry to waste your time." The elderly reverend smiled gently. "My dear, you've wasted nothing. You've saved yourself. That's worth celebrating." Sarah turned to Michael one final time. "I deserved better than you. I see that now. Goodbye, Michael." She took Jake's arm, and together they walked down the aisle. Behind them, 300 iron wolves stood at attention, creating a corridor of protection. As Sarah passed, each biker placed a fist over their heart. Respect, solidarity. Outside the parking lot was a sea of chrome and leather. Afternoon sun gleamed off 300 motorcycles. This wasn't just rescue. It was a statement. This woman is protected. This woman has family. Jake led Sarah to his motorcycle. Beautiful black and chrome Harley with "In Memory of Danny Morrison" etched on the side. Her father's name. Fresh tears welled. "He'd be proud of you." Walking away from wrong takes more courage than staying out of fear. Amanda rushed out with Sarah's purse and phone. "I grabbed your stuff. Sarah, I'm so sorry I didn't see this coming. Not your fault. I didn't want to see it either." Maria approached with documents. I'm filing a restraining order against Michael and his family. They can't contact you, can't come near you. I'm also documenting the abuse for potential civil action. Sarah, what he did, that's not normal. That's not okay. And I'm making sure he faces consequences. Through the church doors, Sarah heard chaos. Michael shouting, his mother shrieking, guests arguing. Officer Chen emerged, shaking his head. The groom's family is threatening to sue everyone. I've documented everything. You're protected, Sarah. Jake revved his engine. You ready? I'm taking you somewhere safe. Sarah nodded, settling behind her uncle. She wrapped her arms around him. First time touching a motorcycle since her father's death 15 years ago. The fear melted away, replaced by freedom. As Jake pulled out, 300 iron wolves fell into formation. They created an escort, a moving wall following Sarah through town. People stopped on sidewalks, staring. Some recorded, some simply watched in awe. Jake drove to his house on the town's edge, neat and maintained despite his rough exterior. Inside was warm, filled with photos of Sarah's father, a lifetime of memories Sarah had hidden from. You've been keeping this? Sarah touched a photo of her father, young and smiling, arm around Jake. I never stopped missing him, and I never stopped missing you. After Danny died, you shut me out. Shut out everything that reminded you of him. But Sarah, I'm not your dad. I'm me. And I've been here, waiting for the day you'd let me back in. Sarah collapsed on his couch, wedding dress pooling around her like a white cloud. Reality crashed, what she'd almost done, what she'd escaped. Uncle Jake, I'm so stupid. I almost married him. Stop, you're not stupid, you're human. He manipulated you. His whole family did. They saw a kind woman with no parents, no family protection, and thought you'd be easy to control. He smiled. They didn't count on the iron wolves. Over hours, the house filled with bikers. Not scary criminals. These were mechanics and teachers, nurses and veterans, business owners and artists. They brought food, flowers, kindness. They shared stories, made her laugh, reminded her that family isn't always blood. Maria pulled Sarah aside. Michael's family is powerful, wealthy, connected. They'll try destroying your reputation, maybe threaten your teaching job. Are you prepared? Sarah thought about the career she'd built, the life she'd constructed. I won't let them silence me. What Michael did was wrong. If speaking up costs me, then it costs me. But I won't be intimidated. Maria smiled with respect. Good, because we're not letting you fight alone. Iron Wolves have resources, lawyers, investigators, people who know how to counter bullies with money. You've got an army now. That evening, as sun set and most bikers departed, Jake sat with Sarah on his porch. A few motorcycles still idled, voluntary guards ensuring Sarah's safety. What happens now? Sarah asked. Now you heal. Figure out who you are without that poison. Reconnect with people who actually love you. He paused. And if you'll let me, I'd like to be part of your life again. No pressure. Just, I've missed my niece. Sarah leaned against her uncle's shoulder, something she hadn't done since childhood. I've missed you too. I was so angry after Dad died. Angry at motorcycles, at the biker community, at everything that reminded me of losing him. But that wasn't fair to you. Grief ain't fair to anyone. But we work through it together. That's what family does. Sarah's phone buzzed. Dozens of messages. Some from concerned friends. Some from Michael's family. Threatening and cruel. But one stood out from Reverend Martinez. Sarah, what you did today took incredible courage. You honored yourself, your late father, and the sacred meaning of marriage by refusing to participate in mockery. Your mother would be proud. She showed Jake, who smiled. Martinez is good people. He was horrified when he realized Michael's plan. That's why he called me. As night fell, Sarah sat in her father's old room. Jake had kept it exactly as Danny Morrison left it. Motorcycle magazines, photos, trophies. A life interrupted but never forgotten. She found her father's journal, leather-bound and worn. Inside, his handwriting. If anything happens to me, Jake will take care of Sarah. He's the best man I know.
Sarah, baby, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone. But I'm not really gone. I'm in every sunset, every laugh, every moment you choose courage over fear. And Jake, he's not just my brother. He's your family. Let him in. Trust him.
Sarah clutched the journal and cried. Not just for her lost wedding, but for years she'd wasted pushing away the one person who'd loved her unconditionally. But tears weren't just sadness. They were release, liberation, the washing away of expectations that never served her. When Jake checked on her, she was smiling through tears. Thank you. for coming today, for never giving up on me, for bringing 300 warriors to remind me I'm worth fighting for." Jake pulled her into a hug, strong, safe, home. "Sarah, you're not just worth fighting for. You're worth everything, and anyone who can't see that doesn't deserve you." That night, sleeping in her father's old room surrounded by the rumble of motorcycles standing guard outside, Sarah felt something she hadn't felt in years: peace. The wedding was ruined, her plans shattered, but somehow, impossibly, she was exactly where she needed to be. Because sometimes the worst day of your life is actually the first day of your real life beginning. Sarah woke to sunlight and distant motorcycle rumbles. For a moment she forgot, then reality crashed back. The wedding, the humiliation, the escape. She was free. The wedding dress hung where she'd placed it last night. Her mother's dress, meant for joy, had witnessed her liberation instead. Jake knocked softly. "You awake?" Made breakfast. The kitchen smelled of coffee and bacon. 3 people sat at the table: Maria, Officer Chen in civilian clothes, and a woman Sarah didn't recognize. "Sarah, this is Diana Torres, crisis counselor who works with abuse survivors, also rides with Iron Wolves." Diana's smile was warm. "I'm here if you need to talk. What you experienced was public emotional abuse. That trauma doesn't just disappear." Sarah sat, accepting coffee. "I feel strange, like I should be devastated, but I'm mostly relieved. That's normal. You escaped something toxic. Relief is appropriate. The grief will come later, not for him, but for the life you thought you'd have." Maria pulled out her tablet. "We need to discuss reality. Michael's family hired Carson and Associates, expensive attorneys. They're threatening defamation suits, claiming you left Michael without cause, demanding you pay for the wedding." Sarah's stomach dropped. "How much?" $80,000. The venue, catering, flowers, photographer, plus emotional distress damages. Maria smiled grimly. "It's garbage legally. We have video of Michael's abuse, but they're counting on you being too scared or too poor to fight. I'm a teacher. I don't have that money." "You don't need it," Jake said firmly. "Iron Wolves Legal Fund is covering your defense, and we're not just defending, we're going on offense." Officer Chen leaned forward. "I witnessed the ceremony. I've filed an official report documenting emotional abuse. The DA is reviewing for potential charges: public harassment, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Michael's performance might have criminal consequences." "There's more," Maria said. "I've interviewed your friends. Amanda gave me names of other women Michael dated. I've contacted 3. All tell the same story. Charming at first, then controlling, verbally abusive, ultimately cruel. One filed a restraining order 2 years ago. Michael's family paid her to drop it." Sarah felt sick. "So I wasn't the first." "No, but you might be the last, if we expose the pattern. These women are willing to testify. We can stop him from doing this again." The doorbell rang. Jake tensed. Through the window, Sarah saw a news van. "How did they find me?" "Michael's family. They're controlling the narrative. The story's out. Bride abandons groom at altar. Motorcycle gang threatens wedding. They're painting you as unstable. Jake as dangerous." Diana touched Sarah's hand. "This is why I'm here. Media assault is another form of abuse. We need to prepare you." Over hours, Sarah learned the extent of Michael's family's reach. News outlets picked up the story. Social media exploded with opinions from strangers. Michael's fraternity brothers flooded platforms with character attacks. Patricia gave tearful interviews about her poor son. "They're destroying my reputation," Sarah said, reading vicious comments. "Let them try," Jake growled. "We've got something they don't: the truth, and 300 witnesses ready to testify about what Michael said." Sarah's principal called. "Sarah, I've seen the news. Take a week off, paid leave. Let this blow over. But know that I believe you. The school board believes you. You have our support." Her students' parents called too. Most supportive. Mrs. Chen brought flowers. "My son told me what really happened. You're brave, Miss Bennett. My daughter looks up to you. Thank you for showing her that women don't have to accept disrespect." But not everyone supported her. Michael's friends came to Jake's house demanding Sarah face consequences. They shouted until Iron Wolves arrived. Not threatening, just present. The shouting stopped quickly. That evening, Sarah received a call from an unknown number. Against her judgment, she answered. "Sarah," Michael's voice made her skin crawl. "We need to talk." "We don't. I have a lawyer. Contact her." "Wait, please. I'm sorry, I was nervous. I said things I didn't mean." "You meant every word. Goodbye, Michael." If you don't meet with me, my family will destroy you. We'll sue you into bankruptcy. We'll make sure you never teach again." Sarah hung up. Her hands shook, but her voice was steady, telling Jake, "He's threatening me." Jake's expression was granite. That was a mistake. Within an hour, Maria had filed for an emergency restraining order citing harassment and threats. By midnight, a judge granted it. Michael couldn't contact Sarah, couldn't come within 500 feet, couldn't contact her employer or friends. "He just made our case stronger," Maria said with satisfaction. "Every threat is documented. Every violation strengthens our position." 3 days later, Sarah ventured out, to the grocery store, Jake and 2 iron wolves accompanying her. She felt exposed, certain everyone was staring. They were, but not with judgment, with support. "You're that teacher, right?" An elderly woman approached. "The one from the wedding. Good for you, honey. I stayed in a bad marriage 40 years because I was too scared to leave. You're braver than I was." Another woman hugged her. "My daughter saw the video. You're her hero. Thank you for showing her it's okay to walk away from wrong." The video. Someone had recorded Michael's altar speech and posted it online. It had gone viral, 5 million views. Comments were overwhelmingly supportive of Sarah, but Michael's family was fighting back. They'd hired a PR firm, released statements claiming the video was edited, that Sarah had been emotionally manipulating Michael. Then came escalation. Sarah returned to Jake's house to find police cars outside. Someone had spray-painted threats on the garage, "Homewrecker," and "You'll pay." Officer Chen was documenting. Security cameras caught the vehicle. "We're tracking it. But Sarah, this is serious. Michael's people are escalating." That night, Jake called a meeting. 50 Iron Wolves gathered, chapter leaders from across the region. "Our sister is under attack. Legal, media, now physical intimidation. Michael's family thinks money and connections make them untouchable. They're wrong." A biker named Marcus stood. "I did some digging. Michael's father, Richard, runs a commercial real estate company. I found irregularities, potential tax fraud, zoning violations, bribery allegations that were buried. I've got documentation." Maria's eyes lit up. "If we expose this, we shift the narrative. Suddenly, the powerful family looks corrupt, and Sarah looks like the victim of their intimidation." "There's more," another biker, Sophie, spoke. "I'm a journalist. I've been investigating the family. Patricia's charity foundation, money laundering. She's been using it to funnel cash to political campaigns illegally. I've got sources, documents, everything." Sarah felt overwhelmed. "I didn't want to ruin anyone. I just wanted to walk away." Diana touched her shoulder. "Sarah, you're not ruining them. They're ruining themselves. You're just refusing to be their victim. There's a difference." Next morning, Sophie's article published, "Behind the Wedding Scandal, A Family's Dark Secrets." It detailed Michael's pattern of abuse toward previous girlfriends, his family's legal troubles, the payoffs to silence victims. The response was immediate. News outlets picked it up. Social media exploded. Suddenly, Sarah wasn't the story. Michael's family was. Sarah was leaving school when a black SUV pulled alongside. Patricia emerged, face twisted with rage. "You destroyed my family. My husband's under investigation. Our foundation is being audited, all because you couldn't handle a little joke." Sarah stood her ground, Jake and Maria flanking her. "It wasn't a joke, Patricia. Your son humiliated me, and now the world knows what kind of people you really are. You're nothing, a nobody. We could have given you everything. You gave me nothing I wanted. You wanted someone to control, to diminish, to break. I'm sorry that didn't work out for you." Patricia lunged forward. Maria stepped between them. "That's assault. Officer Chen, you getting this?" Chen emerged from his patrol car. "I am. Mrs. Patterson, step back or you'll be arrested." Patricia retreated to her SUV, but her parting words were venom. "This isn't over. We will destroy you." But the world was watching. Someone had recorded the confrontation. It went viral within hours. Patricia's unhinged behavior, her admission that Michael's altar speech was meant to control Sarah, the threats, it all played out publicly. The district attorney called Maria. "We're filing charges against Michael Patterson. Harassment, intimidation, stalking. Against Patricia Patterson, assault, making terroristic threats. This family's reign of terror ends now." The trial was set for 3 months later, but Sarah's transformation began immediately. She started therapy with Diana, processing years of manipulation. She reconnected with friends. She spent time with Jake, learning about her father, rebuilding family connection. And she started speaking publicly. It began small. A local women's shelter asked her to share her story, then a domestic violence prevention organization, then a TEDx talk that went viral. Sarah became a voice for women escaping emotional abuse, for recognizing red flags, for understanding that walking away isn't failure, it's courage. The Iron Wolves became her family. She learned their stories: veterans with PTSD, single parents working multiple jobs, people who'd survived traumas and found healing in brotherhood. They weren't criminals. They were protectors, healers, warriors for justice. 6 months after the wedding, Sarah stood in a courtroom watching Michael and his parents face consequences. Michael was convicted of harassment and sentenced to probation, mandatory counseling, and community service. Patricia paid fines for assault. Richard's company faced sanctions for fraud. But more importantly, 3 other women came forward with their own stories. The pattern was undeniable. Michael was ordered to complete intensive rehabilitation. Justice doesn't always look like punishment, Maria explained afterward. Sometimes it looks like stopping someone from hurting others. You did that, Sarah. You saved the next woman. That evening, Iron Wolves threw a celebration, not for Michael's conviction, but for Sarah's survival and transformation. 200 bikers gathered at Jake's property. Jake pulled Sarah aside. Your dad would be so proud, not just for walking away, but for turning your pain into purpose. You're helping people. That's what the Bennetts do. Sarah hugged her uncle. Thank you for not giving up on me, for showing up when I needed you most. Always. Family protects family. As sunset painted the sky, Sarah stood before the gathered Iron Wolves. 6 months ago, I was broken. I'd let someone convince me I was worthless, that I should be grateful for crumbs, that speaking up would ruin me. I believed I had no one. She looked at the faces around her. But I was wrong. I had all of you. Some I'd pushed away, like Uncle Jake. Some I didn't even know, like the Iron Wolves who rode from 6 states to protect a stranger. You taught me. Family isn't just blood. It's choosing to stand together. It's showing up when someone needs help. It's refusing to let wrong triumph. She pulled out a leather vest Diana had brought, custom-made with Iron Wolves patch and Sarah's name. Diana gave me this. She said I've earned it, not by riding motorcycles, but by riding out the storm with courage, by refusing to be silent, by helping other women find their voices. Jake helped her put it on. It fit perfectly. The Iron Wolves erupted in cheers, engines revving. That night, Sarah posted on social media, her first personal statement since the wedding. She included a photo of herself in her Iron Wolves vest, surrounded by her family. 6 months ago, I was humiliated at my wedding. Today, I'm free. Free from abuse, from manipulation, from people who wanted to break my spirit. I learned that true strength isn't staying in situations that destroy you. It's having the courage to walk away. I learned that asking for help isn't weakness. It's wisdom. And I learned that family shows up in unexpected ways, sometimes wearing leather and riding thunder. To everyone facing their own battles, you're stronger than you know. You're worth fighting for, and you're not alone. Never alone. The post went viral. Thousands of comments from women sharing their own stories of escape, of finding courage, of discovering they deserved better. A year after the wedding that never was, Sarah stood in a different church, as maid of honor at Amanda's wedding. She watched her best friend marry someone who truly loved her, who looked at her with respect and devotion. After the ceremony, Amanda hugged her. Thank you for showing me what red flags look like, for teaching me that I deserve better. Your courage saved more than just you. Jake found Sarah at the reception. How you doing? Churches make you nervous now? Sarah smiled. No, because I know the difference now between a wedding and a marriage. Michael and I had a wedding. Expensive, beautiful, empty. Amanda and James have a marriage, built on respect, honesty, love. That's what matters. She looked at her uncle. Uncle Jake, I've been thinking. Would you teach me to ride? Jake's eyes filled with tears. You sure? I know motorcycles remind you of losing your dad. They used to. But now they remind me of you, of the Iron Wolves, of 300 warriors who showed up when I needed them most. I want to reclaim that. I want to ride with you like Dad did. Jake pulled her into a fierce hug. Danny would love that. And Sarah, he's proud of you. I know he is. 2 years after the wedding, Sarah rode her own motorcycle, a beautiful blue Harley that Jake helped her choose. She wore her Iron Wolves vest with pride, her father's memory patch beside her name. She'd written a book about her experience, about recognizing and escaping emotional abuse. Proceeds went to domestic violence shelters and legal aid for survivors. She spoke at conferences, trained teachers to recognize abuse signs, helped countless women find their voices. On what would have been her third wedding anniversary to Michael, Sarah instead celebrated her Liberation Day with the Iron Wolves. They rode together, 200 motorcycles traveling to the coast, feeling the wind, celebrating freedom. As sun set over the ocean, Jake stood beside Sarah on the beach. "You happy, sweetheart?" Sarah looked at the bikers behind her, her chosen family, her protectors, her friends. She thought about the life she'd built from ashes. She thought about the women she'd helped, the students she'd inspired, the second chances she'd embraced. "Yeah, Uncle Jake, I'm happy, really, truly happy." Because Sarah had learned the most important lesson. Sometimes the worst moment of your life is the doorway to your best life. Sometimes humiliation is the catalyst for transformation. Sometimes losing everything means finding yourself. And sometimes, when the world tries to break you, thunder rolls in, 300 strong, wearing leather and carrying the simple message, you are worth fighting for, you are worth protecting, and you will never stand alone again.